Why does modern masculinity feel so hollow? Why do men chase validation like starving animals? In this video, we dive into Friedrich Nietzsche's most controversial insights about women, power, and the eternal dance between masculine and feminine forces. Nietzsche didn't just philosophize about strength. He revealed why suffering forges unbreakable men and why comfort destroys them. We explore his concept of the will to power and how it applies to modern relationships, revealing the hidden dynamics that shape every interaction between men and women. This isn't about hatred or bitterness. It's about understanding the raw truth that society refuses to teach you. If you're tired of being a puppet in someone else's story, if you're ready to reclaim your masculine sovereignty, this is your philosophical awakening. You think she sees you, but what she sees is a canvas waiting for her brushstrokes, a blank screen where she projects her private cinema. The man standing before her? He's already gone, replaced by the ghost of her imagination. Friedrich Nietzsche spent his life dissecting this illusion, not with gentle words or hopeful theories, but with the cold steel of philosophical precision. He discovered something that would make most men tremble. Women don't fall in love with men. They fall in love with power, with potential, with the intoxicating possibility of reshaping raw material into their ideal creation. And you mistake this hunger for genuine desire. You confuse being chosen for being known. But Nietzsche would laugh at your naivety, because he understood what you refused to see. That beneath every romantic encounter lies a battle of wills, a dance of domination disguised as affection. And the man who doesn't understand this dance will spend his life as a marionette, jerking to invisible strings, never knowing who's pulling them. Nietzsche called it the will to power, the driving force behind every human interaction, every glance, every touch, every whispered promise. All of it serves one master, the hunger to dominate, to shape, to control, to possess. Women, he observed, are masters of this game, not through brute force, but through something far more dangerous. The ability to make a man believe he's winning while he's actually surrendering. They don't need to break you. They need you to break yourself, to voluntarily hand over your sovereignty in exchange for their approval. And here's the trap that catches every man. You think submission is love. You believe that bending your will to hers is devotion. But Nietzsche saw through this sweet poison. He recognized that the moment you abandon your own power, the moment you make her the center of your universe, you become invisible to her. Because the feminine instinct doesn't crave worship. It craves resistance. It feeds on the challenge of conquering something unconquerable. Give her everything, and she'll hunger for nothing. Especially not you. Most men live their entire lives without understanding this fundamental truth. They believe in the fairy tale, the myth of the pure heart seeking its missing half. But Nietzsche wasn't interested in fairy tales. He was interested in reality. And reality, he discovered, is far more brutal. Every woman carries within her an image, a blueprint of the ideal man, not based on who you are, but on who she believes she can transform you into. You're not her lover. You're her project, her raw material, her chance to play God with a willing subject. And when you fail to match her inner vision, when the clay refuses to hold the shape she's molding, the disappointment isn't just emotional, it's spiritual. Because you've shattered her illusion of omnipotence. You've reminded her that she's not the creator she believed herself to be. Just another human grasping for control in a chaotic universe. But here's where most men make their fatal error. They blame her for the deception. They rage against her fickleness, her impossibility, her cruelty. Nietzsche would call this the cry of the slave, the weak man's refusal to take responsibility for his own destruction. Because the truth is more uncomfortable than blame. The truth is that you chose this. You volunteered for the role. You auditioned for the part of her personal reformation project. Why? Because facing your own emptiness felt more terrifying than filling it with her fantasies. Because building yourself felt harder than being built by someone else. Because the path of authentic power demands something most men aren't willing to pay. Solitude. the courage to stand alone, to be complete without external validation, to find your worth in your own eyes, not hers. Nietzsche called this self-overcoming, the transformation from slave to master, from reactor to creator, from puppet to puppeteer. The man who masters himself becomes untouchable, not cold, not heartless, not bitter, but sovereign, operating from a place of internal authority that no external force can shake. When you reach this state, something miraculous happens. The game changes entirely. Women no longer see you as clay to be molded. They see you as stone to be studied, admired from a distance, respected, not reformed, because you've become something rare in this world. A man who doesn't need their approval to breathe, who doesn't require their validation to feel alive, who stands complete in himself. And paradoxically, this is when they want you most. Not because you need them, but because you don't. Not because you're incomplete without them, but because you're whole with or without them. This is the ultimate expression of Nietzsche's will to power. Not the power to control others, but the power to control yourself, to be the author of your own story, to refuse to be a character in someone else's narrative. Most of you will never reach this place, not because you can't, but because you won't, because the comfort of being needed feels safer than the terror of being free, because playing a role feels easier than discovering who you really are, because the temporary high of validation feels better than the permanent strength of self-reliance. But for those few who dare to walk this path, for those willing to face themselves without mercy, to strip away every false identity they've worn to earn love, the reward is beyond imagination. You become unbreakable, not because nothing can hurt you, but because you no longer depend on external circumstances for your internal peace. You become truly attractive, not because you've learned new tricks or techniques, but because you've become authentically powerful. And authentic power is the only force that can't be faked, bought, or borrowed. It must be forged in the fire of self-confrontation. Nietzsche's message wasn't about hating women. It was about loving yourself enough to stop being a slave. To anyone, including her. The choice is yours. Remain the puppet, dancing to invisible strings, or cut the strings and discover what it means to be truly free. If this truth cuts deep, if it awakens something you thought was dead, don't let it fade. Share this awakening. Like this video. Subscribe for more brutal truths. And remember, the man who needs nothing becomes everything. The journey starts now.